Hello, welcome to Driver's Seat and to the 10th generation all-new Honda Civic hatchback, a car that Honda says has the driving experience to stir the soul. In fact, when the press release came out announcing this car, it mentioned sport 13 times, all from a car that you'd more associate with retirement age. It's available in 7 trims and 2 engines. Both engines come with a 6-speed manual gearbox, whilst there's a CVT automatic available as well. It's 130mm longer than the previous model, 30mm wider and 20mm lower, so it feels a lot bigger on the road, a lot wider, a lot more substantial. It is actually 16 kilograms lighter than before and 55% stiffer, which is huge. Prices start from £18,375, and this is only available in this 5-door hatch. But it's got loads of room. It's got 478 litres of boot capacity, which is almost 100 more than a Golf. The boot's well sized and gets this pullover load cover, while there's decent underfloor storage with the foldable boot floor and a couple of bag hooks. In the back, that extra length is really felt. There's 95mm extra legroom and 45mm extra knee room, so there's a huge amount of space. Headroom's not brilliant, but with that amount of leg and knee room, you can slouch forward quite comfortably indeed. The seats are comfortable, there's a little bit of storage in the door, and this quite thin but soft and squidgy central armrest has got 2 cup holders. So those 7 trim levels are made up by SSE, SR, EX, Sport, Sport Plus and Prestige. The SR is expected to be the best trim seller, and we're testing the EX, which is just one above that. In here you get a 7-inch infotainment touchscreen with Apple CarPlay and SatNav. There's a 6-speed manual gearbox, climate control, automatic air conditioning, heated seats, while all models come with autonomous braking, lane departure system, blind spot, road departure warning, adaptive cruise control and traffic sign recognition. In here I can get very comfortable. I've got a pump lever for my seat and a second lever for my backrest, although I'm finding it a little bit difficult between the notches to find my ideal angle. There's a good sized door bin, whilst this steering wheel has plenty of adjustment if you can find the lever. So most people will be able to get very comfortable in here. In this lowest seat setting, there's not actually that much headroom. There's a sunroof in here, so that might be impinging a little. But if I was much taller, I'd be touching the roof. On the dash is an anti-slip tray, which can be a phone charger. It then has links down to a hidden tray underneath. So there's really good connectivity there with USB cables being able to plug into ports lower down. This central armrest doubles for a storage bin and can slide back and forth, although you can't adjust the height. It's got a quite deep bin in the middle, but just the 1 cup holder, which is disappointing. The glove box is decently sized and will take quite a few bits. Anyway, let's see what this is like to drive. Those 2 engines, there's a 1 litre 3-cylinder turbocharged VTEC and a 1.5 litre 4-cylinder turbocharged VTEC. Now the 1 litre develops 127 brake horsepower and 148 pound-feet of torque. That's enough to get this from 0 to 60 miles an hour at quickest in 10.2 seconds. Now interestingly, depending on which spec you go for and the change of wheels, that actually reduces to 11.2 seconds in the manual top trim. At best, that engine will return 60.1 miles to the gallon and emits 106 grams per kilometre of CO2. The larger capacity engine develops 180 brake horsepower and 177 pound-feet of torque. That engine will get this to 62 miles an hour in 8.3 seconds as the fastest time. It will at best return 48.7 miles to the gallon and emit at lowest 133 grams per kilometre of CO2. As well as the EX trim, we're testing the 1 litre 3-cylinder petrol with a manual gearbox, and that costs £23,200. It's an absolute perky little delight. It shifts well, it's really torquey through the gears, so we'll pull away from any slower area with no problem at all. Overtaking is also a cinch in pretty much whatever gear you're in. There's no obvious torque surge to it, so it remains consistent all the way through. The 1.5 litre is very similar, again another very impressive engine. it's also super smooth and silky. Both engines I've tried with this 6-speed manual gearbox, and it's brilliant. It's got this stubby little lever to it with a tiny little gear knob on the top, and it changes gear with a lovely fluidity. It's a short throw, but it's easy, it feels reliable and mechanical, and it is a joy to drive. Maybe my soul is starting to stir a little. The ride's pretty compliant. You can feel that there's a firm undertone, but it's not uncomfortable. Saying that, if you crash through the bigger of potholes and road scars and hit something quite suddenly with a sharp edge on it, you do feel it. It does come through the interior. But generally, it's pretty comfortable whether you're a driver or a passenger. Handling is the biggest surprise. This thing is really, really entertaining. You can throw it into a corner with the absolute certainty it's going to deal with it and bring you out safely the other side. As soon as you go in, there's very little body movement. It stays really flat and is just totally trustworthy. With this engine and that combination, it's certainly smile-inducing. It's a lot of fun indeed. There's an adaptive damping button. Having tried it a few times, the only difference I can really tell is it just makes the ride a little bit more uncomfortable. The steering doesn't quite live up to the excellent handling. Now, it's light when you want it to be, and it firms up a little at speed. It's got a nice weight into it and steers accurately. However, mid-corner you do get a little bit change of consistency. So as you're steering through the corner, you then just have to change your angle slightly. It's not tragic, but it just takes away from the level of perfection that this package could have. Visibility to the front and side is decent. However, to the rear, there is a little bit more of an obstruction. The rear roof pillars are rather thick, and the tailgate has a split through it, so the glass is split along that line. It doesn't block too much of your view, but you're aware it's there. There are, however, parking sensors and a reversing camera to help you out when you're going backwards. You actually feel as though you sit quite low down in this, so it does add to that sporting pretense. Whether you like the interior of this car, I think it's really going to be down to personal taste. For me, it's a little bit fussy. It's different and I applaud that, but it's a little bit fussy, and there's a lot of different plastics used in here, so it doesn't feel consistent all the way through. Saying that, it feels pretty decent. The soft touch plastics high up, though they're harder, firmer down. You then got leather lined doors on this model, although that's a cloth trim on others. The instrument binnacle split into 3, and there's a good effort to add a little bit more exuberance to the design. The infotainment system's easy enough to use with decent graphics, if not groundbreaking. It does feel a little bit slow as you're flicking between menus, but generally it should be simple enough to get along with quite happily. So has the new Civic stirred my soul? Not quite, but I tell you, it's super impressive. The ride's good, the handling's brilliant, the two engines are fantastic. Got all that room in the boot and the back. The interior is going to be, I think, personal choice, as are the looks. Thanks for watching Driver's Seat. If you've enjoyed today's video, do remember to subscribe to the channel for free and let us know in the comments section below what you think of the all-new Civic.